Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm Titus, your host, and we are finally back at it again. I decided something in between the last recording and now, since it's been a couple weeks. I said, you know what? I'm going to stop telling everybody I'm going to do better. I'm going to stop telling them I'll get back on track. It just doesn't matter. Bottom line is, I do try to be as faithful as I can be, but I'm not going to try to do that anymore. If you keep hearing 2 a week, sweet. I'm on a roll. If you don't hear one for a week or two, it is what it is. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel like I let you guys down, which is what I feel like sometimes. I don't know why I'm like that. It's just my nature. Try to keep things rolling, keep people happy, but really in the end, I just need to, if I'm not having fresh stuff, if it's not flowing good and guests and this and that, then just not feel bad. Do it when I can do it. We all have lives. We all work jobs. I do too, full time. So, and a little bit busy time right now. So I'll do what I can do. So anyways, I'm leaving that. That's where it is. Hopefully most people that listen to this podcast hear me say that. That way when there's a gap, there's a gap. And they're like, oh, he's busy. But I want to say the title of this episode is Don't Shoot 3 Pintails. Please. In this 2024-2025 season, please do not shoot 3 Pintails. And I know all of you guys are super smart and you're not going to do that. But I guess it's just one of those things you want to throw out there. You want to spread around. You want to tell people, hey, look, I know there was stuff floating around on social media. I know people were saying we got the option of 3 Pintails, and it did say 2025-2026 season. So not this year, next year. But being a creator, a content creator for podcasts, YouTube, social media, whatever, I got to take advantage of this. And I know I wanted to get it out the day after all that news popped out of the option of 3 Pintails, just to let people know that's not what it sounds like it is. And I was doing some stuff on Instagram, and a lot of you guys were commenting back. And I want to dig into that. By now, I'm pretty sure a majority of you, some of you may never even heard about the 3 Pintail option. Some of you, it's old news and you already know all the answers to it. I would say majority of you do, but I'm still going to do it anyways for reference and for people that don't know, maybe newer hunters. Because let's be honest, I've been at the refuges plenty of times and seen people go up with one too many birds or maybe 2 Pintails when it should have been 1. And I'm going to try to play the devil's advocate and say, you know what? Mistakes happen. A lot of people will say there's no excuse for it. You need to know the regulations. I do agree on that side. I do agree you should know and you should read your regs. I'm a big advocate of it. My goodness, if you're a hunter, you have to be. You got to protect yourself, and you're also protecting the species as well. Can't be shooting 3 Pintails when the regulation says 1. So we're going to dig into this. I got a lot of stuff from Delta Waterfowl. I listened to some California Waterfowl podcast where Mark Henley was on there, and also one of the retired presidents of California Waterfowl Association was on there. In fact, I want to have his name slip in my mind. He's not the president anymore. He retired. But Mark Henley has been on 2 or 3 times, and I want to have him on again just because he's more professional talking than me, and I like having guests on. But also, I know he has some other good information, some intel, what they've been doing in the CWA to be part of this and get this going. Because obviously, this whole option thing is for all the United States. So I've got a lot of information written down, stuff I wrote down, stuff I'm going to read. So bear with me. We'll get through this, and I think it's just good for everybody to hear. If you don't get the emails, if you don't get the magazines, and you don't have no other outlet besides this that you listen to get information. So I do appreciate the support, guys. Appreciate you listening. I would love it if you guys could go on iTunes or Apple Podcast and go in there, write a rating and a review. If you don't want to write a review, that's totally cool. If you can just rate it, give us 5 stars. If you listen on Spotify, which is the platform I listen to podcasts on, if you could go in there and give it 5 stars, man, I really want that to blow up this year. I know it goes through a lull kind of early summer, like spring, early summer, but come July, things start really ramping up because we're all getting, myself included, getting in the mindset of hunting, buying gear, all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to really get them pumping out then, but doing what I can now. So before I get started, just a reminder, guys, we do have the 10% off of the Müller chokes. I'm a huge advocate of it. Proof is in the pudding for myself. A whole season I shot him before I said anything about it. I had Jimmy Müller on at the beginning of season and tried it out myself, but I wasn't like, you guys got to buy this. We never did that one time in any of those podcasts. They sold themselves, and I don't even know how many sold, but at the end of the season, I'm like, I'm a believer. I've tried pretty much most of the chokes, and I will say by far I am stoked and love the Müller choke. And if you hear why and you listen to it, you would buy one and try it out too. And you got a big old guarantee money back deal. You can use it from 3 months, and it don't have to be from the purchase date. Or is it 60 days? I can't remember now. It might be 60 days. Let's just say 60 to be on the safe side. I thought it was 90. But 60 days, and Jimmy says that's not even from the time you buy it. It's from the time you start using it. So in other words, he's just telling you, use it, try it. You don't like it, send it back, get your money back. Okay, they are more money, but that 10% definitely is a good discount for you guys. So to get that, you can click in the link in this podcast. If you looked at the description and the details about this podcast, there's a link that will take you directly to his site. And then when you go to checkout, you can put in MVM, like the MVM show, MVM, all caps, 2024. That's all one word, like no spaces. So MVM 2024. Put that all in there, and you'll get 10% off in your order. So if it's not showing a discount, you did something wrong, you got a space in there or something. So check it out. I promise you won't regret it. It's amazing. I see all the people that have been buying them, and there's a ton of people. And what's cool about it is that I haven't heard nobody say, yeah, you lied to me, it's a scam. Everybody's just writing reviews. You guys that are hearing this podcast have sent stuff to Jimmy, and he's posted it on Facebook. Your guys' happy customer reviews, and I know majority of people don't do that, but it's always good to hear. So anyways, let's get started in this podcast. That's that. So the USFWS adopts new harvest strategy for Pintails. So that's the email title there. I'm going to go to my notes here. I don't think I wrote a ton. Let's see here. Thought I had it pulled up. I don't know where I put that. So while I'm kind of scrolling through, let me say this. Guys, do not shoot 3 pintails. And don't get excited that in 2025, we're going to be able to shoot 3 pintails. It's an option. I'm not going to try to pretend I know all this fancy verbiage and words, and I'll let Mark Henley do that whenever he comes on. We talk about it. That might be later on in the month or two. Just depends. But I'm not going to try to pretend the model and I know all the details about that. I heard it and I did understand it, but it's kind of slipping my mind right now. But this is the deal for shooting pintails, guys. And I'm not just talking about California. I'm talking about everywhere, okay? This year, it is 1 pintail, a drake or a hen. That's it, 1, either or. And I would say this, I don't want to offend anybody, but make it your goal to just shoot drakes if you can. I know early season, their sprigs aren't as long. If it's overcast, it's early morning. Can be easier to mistake, but man, take your time. There's so many pintails now, you could totally wait till the sun's out or it's brighter out to shoot a drake. But just saying, I know accidents happen, things happen. Not crucifying anybody. I made plenty of my own, but just make that a goal. Don't just fill a bag to fill a bag and shoot hens, even though they say that it doesn't make a difference. That's the only reason why they even leave that option. It is what it is. But I shoot hen mallards and stuff too at times, not all the time. But anyways, just throwing that out there. We can shoot 7 mallards. We can only shoot 1 pintail. So that's pretty much why I'm saying try not to do that. So with the model, this means it's an option in 25, 26 season and on forever, however long they let that go. The option is 0 pintails for that season. So let me say this. We could find out next year, depending on this year's numbers and next year's, we could end up finding out that we don't get to shoot pintails, period. Did you know that? Zero. People don't understand that, and they think we're just going to always be able to shoot them, and we should be able to shoot 3 or 4 of them. Well, just remember, all the numbers are included, the hatches, all those things are included, and if it goes below that threshold, and again, I know the number in my head, I don't want to say it because I don't want to give him misinformation, even though I'm like 99% sure, but there's a huge threshold, and if the numbers dip below that threshold line, that's what changes our back limit. So it is 100% an absolute possibility that the numbers from this year and next year, and maybe the numbers are already done this year, I can't remember, I don't think so, but let's just say this year, next year, that you could only shoot, that you can't shoot any pintails. Did you know that? It's not a good thought. It's a bummer. I can't imagine having a season. I've never experienced having a season where we could not shoot a pintail. Do I think that's going to happen? Do I think that's a possibility? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Could it? Yeah, I would say there's always a chance for something to go the other way, but I don't think it's going to happen. Let me say this question. Do I think it should be 3 pintails in California? Because every state is going to be different. Do I think it should be 3 pintails? Personally, I don't think so. Like, if it was 3 pintails, would I shoot 3 pintails? I am just going to have to say I definitely is a possibility. Like, in my head, I don't know. It's like, do I really need to shoot 3 pintails? But what's the difference between doing that and shooting 7 mallards? You know, it's like, why does pintails seem different? Is it because, I see my goodness, I see more pintails than anything else, right? Don't you guys? I mean, think about it. I mean, not everywhere, right? Some states that you're listening to this like, man, I haven't never seen a pintail. I know that's a possibility. And, you know, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And what is that? There's another saying, I can't think of it right now, but familiarity breeds contempt. So when you're so used to seeing something, it doesn't mean as much to you. You know, it's not as precious to you. When I talk about black ducks, there's some of you probably listening like, man, I see those all the time. Man, that's my dream, one of my dream birds, you know? So out here, and I know there's other states too, not just California, but out here, it's like, it's a dime a dozen. You know, I post a picture of a pintail or a bag limit with the pintail in there, and those are dime a dozen. It's like, okay, congratulations, pal. You know, I've had guys comment that this year on Instagram, and I'm thinking, when did I what's your point? Oh, so what? I shot a pintail. There's literally no reason, stupid, that guys just act like that. It's like, yeah, they are here. But the reason people in the comments are going crazy because they don't have them. So it just depends on where you're at, right? So some states could possibly be 0. California could be one of them. I mean, you never know. I don't think it'll be, but it could be. Will it be 1 again next year? It very well could be. No one ever said fishing game, California waterfowl, nobody ever said it's going to be 3 next year. Just letting you guys know. Just want to throw that out there. Protect you guys. Keep safe. I know you probably know that already. I'm preaching to the choir. But I just want to explain a little bit more on the little bit of details. But that the option is 0 to 3. So it could be 0. It could be 1. It could be 2 pintails. It could be 3. And I don't think... Some guys said, well... It's never going to be 3 drakes. So let's say if the 2025-2026 season in California, let's just say California because it's where I'm at, they say, okay, it's 3 pintails. Well, they're not going to allow you to shoot 3 bull spring. You're not going to be able to shoot 3 drakes. It's going to be 2 drakes and a hen. So it's kind of like, to me, this is just me, unless you're so worried about getting 7 birds in California because that's what the limit is. But to me, think about this just for a second. Don't shut your mind down, but listen to my thought here. What's the point of having 3 if you can only shoot 2 drakes and a hen? For me personally, I don't want to shoot hen. There's a reason why the limits are lower and changing all the time because there's not enough hens. And I know I shouldn't say not enough hens, but it is part of it. Okay, it's also bad nesting grounds and habitat and water and all this. There's a billion things that are involved in this. But my point is, if they say, okay, it's 2, there's no reason to get mad and be like, man, I wish it was 3. It should be 3. There's so many Pintails. Because think about it. You're still going to shoot the same amount of drakes. 2 drakes. It's not going to be 1 drake, 1 hen. It's going to be 2 drakes or a drake and a hen. And it ain't going to be 2 hens. I guarantee you that. So my point is, it's almost 0 point of doing 3, in my opinion. And again, the way they say and they study, they're like, well, if you shoot 2 drakes and a hen, it's not going to hurt the population. And maybe it's not. I've just talked to some other people, some guys that have been fishing game years and years, and it's like, it absolutely does. And I don't see how it couldn't. But biologists and other people say it don't. So anyways, so that is my 2 cents, and I'll, excuse me, I'll add some more 2 cents in here a second. Let me take a swig. Unfortunately, it's not Mountain Dew, it's 7-Up. Son, that has some carbonation in it. All right. Let's go to this email. This is going to be more of the detailed information. I want to just speak my piece there. Just some things that I've been thinking about since that came out, okay? So, anyways, I have a bad habit of repeating myself. I'm going to move on. All right. So, this is by Paul Waite with Delta Waterfowl. It says, USFWS adopts new harvest strategy for Pintails. New model includes option for 3 bird daily bag limit. For the first time in nearly 30 years, duck hunters in the lower 48 states could have the chance to shoot 3 pintails a day as soon as the 25-26 season. Okay, as soon as. So notice that's not even locked in. Okay, a possible outcome of an interim population and harvest strategy being put into use by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. However, it's important to note that despite a change in the model. So this is just the model. The daily bag limit for all future seasons still depends on the pintail populations and habitat conditions on the breeding grounds. Okay, I said that already. The data will become clearer in August when USFWS releases its annual waterfowl population status report. So that's what I was saying. They're doing it right now. And in August, they're going to release the report. So, excuse me, that will become more clear come August. So despite speculation by other media outlets, which is what people were saying, they were starting to spread stuff like, oh man, it's going to be 3 next year. No, there's no guarantee of a 3 pintail bag limit for the 25-26 season. So based on new integrated population model for pintails, the, excuse me, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Regulations Committee on May 17th adopted an interim Northern Pintail harvest strategy to guide setting of regulations for the 25-26 waterfowl season. The new strategy, which was developed based on banding, population survey, and harvest data, allows 4 options. Bag limits could be 3 pintails daily, 2 pintails daily, 1 pintail, or a closed season for the Mississippi, Central, and Pacific flyways. Now notice this, the Atlantic Flyway will have a 3 pintail daily limit every season unless the model calls for a closed season in the other 3 flyways. So that one is set, which is fine because that's not abundant there. But anyways, so the new model, the new data is some of the best science we've ever had on pintails, said Jerome Ford with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Assistant Director during the meeting. In this application of the new strategy, we're trying to learn. So it's kind of like a testing ground, something over like the next 5 years, right? They're going to see, okay, if we did 3 this year, what happened? We did 2 this year, what happened to the population? I mean, they've had plenty of time to see that, but it's just, again, it's something that's different news, so they got to do that. The revised strategy addresses stakeholder concerns with the current strategy, and the important technical updates conform with the idea of using the best available science to support harvest management decisions. So under adaptive harvest management, which was put into use in 1995 and updated for pintails in 2010, only 3 regulatory options for pintails exist. Okay, 2, 1 are closed. That's how it's been since 1995. Okay, almost 30 years. The regulations for this season, the 24-25 season's already set. It's 1 in every flyway. Okay. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will use 2024 breeding population survey data obtained this spring to determine 25-26 regulations using the new interim Pintail harvest strategy. So we'll see how that goes. The difference in the new model factors in the harvest rate, which is the percentage of the population taken by hunters, rather than just looking at the total harvest from the prior year as a predictor of the upcoming season's harvest, said Dr. Chris Nicolai, waterfowl scientist for Delta Waterfowl. The new model makes predictions based on the observed proportion of pintails shot, not on the estimated number of what hunters shot the previous season. Okay, that makes sense. So, what's the likelihood of a 3 pintail daily limit in 25-26? If pintail populations increase from 2023 levels, a 3 pintail limit in all 4 flyways is possible. So it's always a possibility, okay? I'm glad I didn't say my numbers because, let's see here. I was off a little bit on my numbers. I was going to say, so I'm glad I didn't. All right, so the proposed harvest strategy provides for an open hunting season when the observed breeding population is above 1.2 million birds, and allows a liberal season length with 3 bird daily bag limit under some conditions, according to Todd Sanders, which is U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Pacific Flyway representative. So the appropriate thresholds for each regulatory alternative are derived each year based on the data and learning about population demographics and the predictive harvest models. It is anybody's guess how likely we are to end up in any one particular regulatory package in a year and how those thresholds may change with data and learning. So it's definitely, it could be anywhere. So while the exact thresholds for a regulatory option under the new harvest strategy have been revealed, lost my place here. Revealed. Oh my goodness, how did I lose that? It's notable that the cutoff for an open season has been defined as a breeding population of 1.2 million pintails. Under the previous model, season closure would have happened at a breeding population below 1.75 million pintails, okay? So pintail populations, as reported in the waterfowl habitat and breeding population surveys dating back to 1955, have only dipped below 2 million 3 times, 1991, 2002, and 2022. Very recent. So actually my number was, I was going to say 2 million, okay? But it's only dropped below that 3 times. The 2022 population estimate of 1.78 million was the lowest in the history of the survey. Notably, pintails increased to 2.21 in 2023. Isn't that funny? Almost 500,000 more. Interesting. You know, and I don't know how accurate they can be. I've heard it's pretty accurate. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's within thousands, if it's within tens of thousands, you know, hundreds of thousands. I don't know. But it's pretty accurate, I've heard. All right. During the wet years of the 2010s, limits jumped to 2 daily before falling back to 1 again in 2017. So we've been there. Okay, so it fell back to 1 again in 2017, and then every season since 2019. So 18, was it 2 in 18? Huh. The way they word that, it makes it sound like it was. Man, yeah, I do miss 2 pintails. I'm just telling you, like, 2 is perfect. Any more than that, I think it's I don't know. Especially since it's just going to be a hen, it's kind of pointless. But I know I just said I wasn't going to repeat myself, and I did. But anyways, so that's kind of the back history, right? So the last season that it was 3 pintails. Wow. I'm trying to think how old I was in 97. I guess I was only 13, so I wasn't even duck hunting yet. Oh, I went when I was 9. So back then, that's funny because it was 3, and what do I know? I was 9 years old, but that was just a couple trips. That wasn't nothing serious. So 97, it was 3 pintails, and then from 98 to 2008, it was 1. And then all that flooding that happened in 2010 and all that, it jumped to 2. I'm just thinking of timelines in my own head, how old I was and all this. So yeah, I remember. Let's see here. 2008. I mean, obviously I was duck hunting. Let's see here. So that was 16 years ago. It was 24. Huh. You almost forget about that stuff until you see these numbers. During the wet years of the 2010s, it went to 2, and then went back to 1 again 2017, and then every season since 2019. So anyways, there's an acknowledgement that restrictive harvest regulations for the past 40 years have not led to an increased pintail population, and that hunter harvest is not an issue. See, so 40 years of data has just shown it really doesn't make a difference if we shot 1 or 2 or 3. It hasn't changed nothing. It's just depending on the year, how wet it is. Importantly, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service stands ready to institute the new model for pintails to collect 3 seasons of data under a 3 pintail bag limit in all 4 flyways. It could take several duck seasons to have 3 pintail limits as the chosen regulatory options, after which the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service plans to evaluate the impact on the harvest and the pintail. So what I take this as, I could totally over, let's say 7 to 10 years, I could see it changing 2 or 3 times, going from 3 to 2, maybe 1 to 3, over that period of time, so they can collect the data and see, did it make a difference? Did we hurt the population when we were shooting 3? You know what I mean? So it's actually pretty interesting information. It says evaluation results will be provided to the flyway technical committees for consideration and development of a proposed operational harvest strategy, which may or may not include an option for a 3 bird daily bag limit, referring to pintails. The service and flyway councils will annually monitor the implementation of the strategy and can address any issues that may arise. Okay, we're up pretty much to the end of this. So, So Delta Waterfowl supports the new pintail harvest strategy based on sound science. So Delta is glad to play a role in helping to develop the best management strategies for all ducks, including pintails, said Joel Bryce, Chief Conservation Officer for Delta Waterfowl. Hunters really care, and we all want to do what's best for resource. 100%. 100%. I feel like we all do. There may be a few that, don't really or don't pay attention to that. But I think a majority of people, if you told them, hey, if we went to 1 for 3 years, pintail, would you be willing to make that sacrifice to help the numbers? And everybody's going to say yes. I said this long ago in earlier episodes, who knows how many ago, 40, 50 episodes ago. I said I would totally go down to a 5 mallard limit. And I would even go down in the overall bag limit for California. So California, I'd go down, to 6 or 5. Why? Maybe it's because I've been hunting longer now, but am I feel better about myself because I shot 7 versus 5? Some guys get all uptight about that and get all upset because the science proves. It's like, I know, I'm just throwing that out there. I am not going to be ticked off if they say, hey, we're going to make it 5 this year. Bird numbers are hurting. Mallards are down. This is down, which they are. Go look at the stats over the last 40 years of mallards. It's unbelievable, especially California, or I should say Pacific Flyway. It's crazy. But that's me. And I've talked to several people, and they're like, hey, let's do it. Whatever's going to help. But then, science says it's not going to make a difference, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I ain't no scientist, that is for sure. And I sure ain't as smart as those guys. So they obviously know what they're talking about. Seems to be, appears that way. So anyways, I'm just throwing some things out there and just kind of shooting the breeze and tossing some statements out there. It doesn't, neither here nor there. It's just my opinion, my thoughts, and me expressing what's been rolling around in this little noggin of mine. So anyways, stuff to think about. I'm curious. I'm kind of excited. Maybe that's when we'll have Mark Hennelly on. Maybe we'll have him on in August. Once that data comes out, that's when they release it, because they're doing the spring. I'm assuming they're probably done or almost done with all the numbers and all that good stuff. So, yeah, interesting. So don't shoot 3 pintails, and if it ever does go to that, pay attention, because more likely it's going to say 2 drakes and a hen. So really, it's not much of an advantage. Doesn't mean much to me personally to be able to shoot 3, because I ain't gonna do 3. I'm not gonna do 2 drakes in hand just because there's nothing else flying. I don't know. Like, I track my numbers and all that stuff, and hunts and the shooting percentage and the ratios per hunt. Like, I track that just for data. I don't do it because I'm trying to beat somebody else. I'm not going to do that. I guess to me, it'd be nice. It's nice to have that pin on the backside in case an accident happens, which again, I don't. It's just left for error, in my opinion. That's what I feel like. But that being said, it's like if there's a flock of pintails flying together and there's hens mixed in there, don't shoot into the group. You shouldn't do that anyways, right? Or if there's a pair and they're flying so tight together, don't shoot. Because you're gonna hit the hen, right? Like, that's a chance that you're taking. So you have to manage the shots you take, and you gotta have the discipline. If the pintail limits 1 and you sluice 2, you scotch double. That's you. That's on you. That's nobody else's fault. You can't blame no one and say, "Oh, it was an accident." It kind of wasn't. Pintails fly really tight together, and if you're shooting and they're not separated enough, and you're not comfortable with it, and think you might get both, you should not shoot. Just a little tips from Titus. But anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Appreciate you guys listening, and don't forget that deal with the Müller chokes and big trips coming up. There was something else I wanted to say on here. I think I'm gonna save it for another one though. I'm already at over 30 minutes. So anyways, thanks guys for bearing with me on the breaks that I take, and then getting back on the horse again, going for a couple months and break and all that good stuff. So as far as the choke videos go, people have been like, "Hey, I thought, when are you going to release those? I thought you were going to release them." Well, I did what I did not want to do when I had all the motivation to record them. I didn't have the chokes. Then when I got them, I've been too busy. And now when I'm ready to record again, it's stinking hot outside. So I guess I'll be sweating my tail end off recording all these videos. I got some recorded already, but I want to I guess it doesn't matter. I guess I could just release the one. I was kind of wanting to have 7, 8 done, 6, 7, 8 videos done, and then release them once a week. But I don't know. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just let them go when I can. Keep something burning alive on the channel. It's been silent on there for a while. So anyways, I'll work on that. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.